Remember group projects in school? Most of us hated them, except for slackers. And by the way, slackers don't watch my videos, so I know that's not you. Most of us who did group projects ended up doing most of the work while others took credit for it, and we learned to hate something called teamwork.
Here we go. 5, 6, and...
But when we enter our work career, teamwork, or being able to work well on a team, is one of the highest ranked elements that get you a good job, get you a strong career, and get you a really strong reputation. So how are we supposed to make sense of this thing called teamwork?
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
And with almost 80% of people who are quitting their jobs recently saying that one of the top reasons for leaving is that they don't feel appreciated and their work is not recognized, maybe we're doing this teamwork thing all wrong. Maybe teamwork is not just the solution, maybe it's the very problem we're trying to solve. So what is teamwork and how can we do it better? Hello, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show. And one of the best characteristics, one of the best reputation features you can have in searching for a job or a new job in your do-over is that you're a good team player. In your business class, if you've ever had to suffer through one, you probably learned about the 4 basic types of teams. There are project teams, self-managed teams, virtual teams, and operational teams. And which kind of team you'll be part of is good to know because it sets expectations about how you will operate and what will be expected of you. But what they don't teach us is how to make teams work and work for us. So what makes teamwork work is the tough part. Figuring out how to manage those relationships and manage the outcomes and the expectations and how people think of you when you interact with others on a team, that's the difficult part. So let's look at the basics. Let's look at the basic approach that we have in the workforce today to how we are going to handle this subject, this thing called teamwork. The first option is the Moshpit approach. That is, everyone does everything and everyone's opinion matters and everything is good as long as somebody wants to say it. Please feel free to say it, whether it's good, bad, ugly, stupid. And yes, there are stupid things. The goal of the Moshpit approach is not to do the best work. It's to manage the workplace. It's a manipulative tool that's used to see if we'll play nice with one another. It doesn't guarantee best outcomes. It doesn't guarantee that we'll reach goals. It's part of a manipulative way of managing people and different personalities. And it's usually a defensive tool in the hands of a manager who isn't a control freak, but has lost control of how to bring people together and accomplish things. Yes, it's a kindergarten-like approach to being polite, deferential, and helping the hard workers help the slackers. This is also what's feeding into the popular phenomena that we see everywhere today, and that's called quiet quitting. I've given you a deeper take on that, and you can check out that video here. So managers who want to smother rather than accomplish things together as a team, they use this Moshpit approach to make sure everybody feels heard. And they claim they're stressing people over outcomes when what they're actually doing is killing any sense of aspiration or desire to excel in certain people. I've been in the creative design and copywriting workspace for a while, and I can tell you that editorial boards or processes where something is submitted and it goes through half a dozen, maybe a dozen different offices to get an approval of it, and where everyone or anyone gets to say anything about copy. Yes, punctuation, spelling errors, sure, checking numbers, great, but they also start to opine on things like design and columns and colors. Yeah. That kind of work actually destroys creativity, and it sends creative people elsewhere. It tells them that you can be as creative as you want, do your best work, and everybody, anybody without any interest in excelling in that is going to offer their 2 cents, and they're going to be heard. They're going to be heard over you. So the Moshpit approach, yes, it's the too many cooks that spoil the soup. Yes, it kills creativity. So why is it our first default when we hear the word teamwork? It shouldn't be even on the map. The second kind of team management we run into is the I'm the boss, but I'm including you kind of approach. And that is, the decisions are already made, the designs are already in place, but an ego-driven boss wants everybody to be there while they hear opinions, and the boss gets to explain to them and win team support for the boss's idea. Now that means that any disagreements or any alternatives that even the best in your team might offer to the boss really have to disagree with the boss's preset idea about what the boss wants to do. And it turns into a conflict or a confrontation. It is inherently adversarial. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I was in part of summer camp work, and the leaders of the camp brought everybody together to vote on who the best camper of the week was. And after a while of people exchanging ideas and names, no this kid, no that kid, finally in frustration, one of the directors said, "We've already determined who's going to win, and the name is already on the trophy. We just brought you here to get your ideas to make you feel better." Well, they were also serving root beer float. So I got my root beer float and said, well, if that's the case, I'm out of here. The I'm the boss approach, or the I just want to make sure that you feel good about a decision I've already made and try to create some artificial sense of team. Yeah, those are losing propositions in managing teams. A third approach to team management focuses on segmentation. So we're going to take everyone that knows about X and we're going to put them on a team to solve the problem of X underperforming so that we'll do better at X. What we wind up with is a team of all generals with no soldiers. And what they end up doing is volunteering others' work and time and labor and sweat to accomplish their ideas. That is, they'll come up with an idea and they'll figure out, well, who on my team can do it? And they'll just run it down to them and say, do it. There is no teamwork concept in this. It's just a gathering of experts on X who want to give you more of their work. By the way, one of the best things you can do if you're looking for upward mobility in your organization, in a job, to show that you are a team player, is to ask to take over or assume a task that your boss does. Whatever it is, it could be big or small, just don't get too close to their ego, but you actually volunteer, you say, you know what, I'd like to become part of that to help you with that, and eventually one day take that for myself and get that off your plate. That kind of approach to interacting with a boss, even if they're just throwing work your way from their teams, can go a long way to make you part of someone who is more important to them, and they'll actually think of you as someone who is on the team. A hybrid of this segmentation approach is the hybrid approach, and that is that you take the best or a good individual, not just the one who has more free time, but someone who's actually good. Here's the problem with sales. When salespeople start to fail, sometimes we end up sending them more leads thinking that we're going to help them, while the good people who actually convert leads, well, they could actually convert more leads. And we end up punishing the good salespeople and actually burdening and frustrating and losing good leads on weaker salespeople. So the segmented approach is to take better quality people in different areas, from operations, manufacturing, logistics, marketing, even HR. And HR will be there playing nice with everybody and to make sure everybody plays nice with everyone else. This hybrid approach is probably the most successful version of managing teams because it lets people do things that they're actually good at and they're responsible for and they have buy-in for. And it's easier for them than to take what work is done to their discrete teams, their departments, and say, we're contributing to something larger at this organization or company that's going to reach this goal. And that's important for you, for me, for the organization. It's a good buy-in feature. Now, the downside of this hybrid approach is that everybody thinks of themselves as an area expert. So when it comes to a frustrating discussion or an impasse, someone will usually flex and say something like, well, since I'm the area expert on this, we should. And that's meant to end the conversation. And there goes any concept of team. All you are as individuals, you just have individual superstars. You're not running an offense or a defense. You're simply functioning as individual superstars. Now, that means that there is an alternative to this, and that alternative is that maybe you can look to do what you do best better because of the input, you having a view of what others need and how what you decide and what you do will impact others and their teams. That is an approach to teamwork that will build you a good reputation. So those are the approaches, but let's look at how you're actually going to function, how we should behave in the teamwork setting in order to not only benefit ourselves, but to actually accomplish what the team should accomplish. The first thing to make the behavior of a team work better is to admit that not all teams are created equal. Not all team members are created equal. Yes, there's some who can do more than what they are doing and maybe even do what it is that we do maybe a little better than us. That makes us feel insecure. But that's our opportunity on a team to say, I'm going to learn how to do what I'm supposed to be doing better. Now, the extreme of this is that someone is just presumptuous and says, I can do all of this better and I don't know why there is a team at all. Now, in that situation, that's a hard to break model. That's a hard to break person. In that situation, admitting that that team is dysfunctional up front will probably help everyone. Maybe that person needs a different team. So if in the course of a team and a discussion, you're not sure about one of the ideas that's floated or even agreed on, well, rather than disagreeing and stopping it before it even gets a chance to work, just because you have an opinion that it won't, or you tried it and it didn't work, try it and see if it works. Let the test be not your opinion against someone else's opinion, or your expertise, or your ego against someone else's ego. Let it be whether or not it actually works, and be prepared to admit that at times things that we tried in a different situation or ourselves, someone else is able to do. Part of learning how to work on a team and add value to a team, even in a place where it may take our ego down a notch, will be an important part of high-functioning teamwork. You know, there's an old saying about the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And what that means is that no matter how good a recipe looks, unless you cook it right, unless the outcome tastes good, well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. That is, it's not a good recipe if it doesn't wind up with good tasting pudding. Part of executing on a team is to let things happen. You have a team to take cover behind, and it's not just you. So when you agree to something that you're not really sure about and you add value to it rather than undercutting it, you're testing as a team and you're owning it as a team. Now, if they break bad on you and say, well, it didn't work because he did that, that's when you have a breakdown on the team. And that's dysfunction, and that's another problem you're going to have to solve. But in the meantime, let things be tried. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Another important part of managing well in a team is that learn how to stay in your lane. Up front, learn what your roles are. Be explicit about your roles. Who's there and why are they there? What are they supposed to contribute? And also, be explicit about goals up front. Goals up front, goals and roles will help you manage the expectations and your behavior in a team setting. The next part of team management is owning the process and owning deadlines and committing yourself to always being early. Not only does it show respect, but it shows other people that you want them to succeed. You're going to give them, you're not going to be the thing that holds them back. Now, part of this is that you might be waiting on a number from some obscure person in some obscure department. When you go to them and you request the number for third quarter sales in this area or in this region or in this zip code, explain to them why it is you're asking for the number. Don't just order or command a number. Go to them and say, you know what, we're doing this team project here and we need to reformulate something and we need the number from the third quarter. That number from you is going to be very important because it's going to influence what we do as a team, the next phase of marketing, and it's going to be looked at by upper level management or leadership teams or the CEO, and it's part of fulfilling goals that are set for us. It'll make everybody look good. It'll make you look good. Can I have that number, please? And when they provide that silly little number, thank them. Narrate it for them. Tell them how important it is. Give them some nobility in producing a metric for you, even if you think it's just a number, just a silly little number. And last is the work itself, the workload and the work product, because what comes out of it, even though you know individually what each person did, a good team will have a common work product that they will have to own as a team. Now, part of that, this is back to the group projects in school, you know this, part of that is being able to be a good human being when it comes to workload and work project. Yes, some people on the team are going to do more than others, and I bet you're always going to think that you do more than the person sitting next to you. Congratulations on being a hard worker. Guess what? They think the same thing about themselves. You're not going to get beyond that, so let's be good human beings to one another. And that is, when the work product is presented, when you're discussing it, when it's implemented, when it's executed, and when you present it to others, make sure that you are complimentary and you are grateful and recognize the work of others. And when someone looks at you and says, hey, I want to thank James for that part of the work, don't be someone who is falsely humble and say, oh, that's nothing. That nothing little thing that you did actually demeans what other people have done in their work, and you're putting people down. You're not elevating yourself with your self-deprecating humility. In fact, at that point, it will do you best just to say thank you and move on and let the work product speak for itself. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.